Hi, for this video lecture I'm going to talk about a sample program that will check if your string input is a palindrome or not a palindrome. So I'm going to use interrupt21 function called 01 for your string input, and then afterwards we're going to check character by character, byte per byte, if the string is a palindrome or not a palindrome. Okay, but before we go to the program, let's check first what it really does. So I'm going to run it, then I'm going to put so there are 6 characters, A N N A A, so this should be a palindrome. So it's a palindrome. Okay, let's check 3 characters only, Ana or wow. Let's check wow. So this should be a palindrome. And then let's get a very long string. I'm going to put a 5 A's 2 4 5, then plenty of W, then another 5A 1 2 3 4 5. This should be a palindrome. Okay, now let's put something that's a random. That's not a palindrome. So I type my name, so not a palindrome. So the program can check if it's a palindrome or not. Now let's look at the codes. So first you have the org 100 or origin 100. It just tells your assembler where to put your code, since you're using since you are assembling for a .com, so you have to put it there. It will be a different number if you're going to use if you're going to assemble for an exe. So com, that's by default, you put org 100, so certain memory location 100, that's where your code will be placed. And then writing conventional programming, you have to define first some string or some variables. In our case, we're going to define a memory location and some string that to be displayed. So first is the string defined by 51 dup or duplicate $sign. So it will tell your assembly language that you're going to allocate a memory location with 51 that could accommodate 51 characters, and you have put $sign there for the meantime, so it contains $sign. And then I also define notpal. This I'm going to use this to display a string, not palindrome. Another one is its pal, so if it's a palindrome it will be displayed. Then let's look at the program. So I initiate CX and BX as 0. I'm going to use them as counter. CX for my counter for my loop, BX is for my pointer. And this is now the input. We're using interrupt21 function called 01, so one character at a time. So I'm going to check if the user inputted enter key. So once it's enter, that's the time I'm going to process. So if it's not enter, it means that it's one of those characters. So every time a character is pressed, I'm going to save it in the string memory location, which has 51 memory locations, 51 bytes or 51 characters. So BX is 0, so originally it will point to the first memory location, and then afterwards I'm going to add CX by 1, add BX by 1, because I'm going to use the CX for my counter, or BX is for my pointer to the next memory location, so that I will not be writing characters or inputs in the same memory location. So that's why I have to I have to increase bx by 1, so it will point to the next memory location. And then it will go on. We'll wait. We'll continue on asking for keyboard input unless the user will press enter or 0D. So once it presses enter, somebody will press enter or the user will press enter, then it will go to process. For the process, what I did is going to subtract cx by 1 and bx by 1. First, I would like to discuss why I have to subtract bx and cx by 1. Cx is going to use for my counter, for my loop, while bx I'm going to use it to help me point to the memory location. This is the base register. I also have ci here. I also, since I'm going to use I'm going to compare two memory location at the same time, so I have to get two characters at one time to be to 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 be compared. So let's see why I have to subtract bx and cx. This one I'm just initiating it, but why cx minus 1, why bx minus 1? So let's look at here. So if this is your memory location, you're going to put it string. So every time I'm going to put a character, I'll have a counter there. This is my cx, assuming this is my cx and this is my bx. Cx and bx is the same value. So every time I'm going to the first character, so bx becomes 1, then after 1 it becomes 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Assuming there were 9 characters. But if I'm going to point the address or point my register to the memory location using the string, since the name of the memory is memory location is string, the first memory location is located at string, not 1, not string plus 1, but string. So the next memory location will be string plus 1, but the string plus 1 memory location, which is the second memory location, I've already inputted two strings there. So if I'm going to use this as my counter, I have to subtract this by 1 so that I will know I will arrive on the correct memory location if you're going to use it as as pointer and counter. Right? Not the memory location, this memory location, there are 9 characters, but if I'm going to address it, if I'm going to address it using string, I'm not going to put string plus 9, but instead string plus 8 only. That's why I've subtracted 1 in my program here for my bx. For my cx, I also subtracted it by 1 because again same rule applies. I'm pointing my memory location, because memory location, it's the crucial one is you have to know where your memory location is. You have to point you have to point your string to the right memory location. Otherwise, you will be committing a mistake and you will not be getting the character that you're supposed to get, or you'll not be able to compare the character that you're supposed to compare. Okay. Next is I shift right cx by 1. When you shift a register, it simply means that you are dividing the register by 2. When you shift by right, you divide it by 2. Okay, again, let's show it in the here. If you have a character 1 0 1 0, that is 10, right? If you're going to shift it going to the right, this character becomes 0 1 0 1. So wait, So, oops, put 0101 there. So, so as you can see, oops, wrong, again, wrong. There. So I'm just moving this character, going here. This one goes here. This one goes there. So that's shifting one character to the right. If I have another one, example, I have 1100. If I'm going to shift it to the right, one character to the right, this becomes 0110. So as you can see, if you're going to shift one character to the right, you're simply dividing that number by 2. So you might ask, what if it's an odd number? So you still divide it by 2. If 7, it becomes 3. If you're going to shift to the right, if that is shifting. If it's 8, this is shift to the right. Shift to the right. So if it's 8, it becomes 4. If it's 10, it becomes 5, etc. What if you're going to rotate to the right? So rotate to the right is you are going to retain the number. So what will happen, say for example, this is still your number. If you're going to rotate this to the right, this becomes 0, same lang, 00101. So no problem there. How about this one? Rotate to the right, same pa rin. But if for example you have a 1001 and then you're going to rotate this to the right, this becomes, or let's put another one here. If that is 1, you're going to rotate this to the right, this becomes, this one, you move it to the right, this becomes 1 1 1 0. So that's the difference. 110 because this one, you move, this one moves going to here, and this, the other two, will move to the right. So you carry it, you rotate it. Then if you're going to rotate this one more time to the right, it's just like equal, it's just shifting it to the right. So I hope shifting and rotating is a bit clearer now. So let's go back to the program. So basically I just divided C, where is that, this one, cx by 2. The reason for that is because, again, going back to this one, what I did is just divide it by 2, because what I'm going to do is I'll just compare this string by this string, 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 or not string, character, this memory location by this memory location or character, this memory location by this memory location, this memory location by this memory location, this memory location by this memory location. That's what I did here in the program. So instead of comparing the whole thing, the overlapped, I'm only going to compare what's in the middle. And normally only even number of compares. So if there are odd numbers of characters that's what inputted, so we will assume that's what's in the middle. You're not going to compare with anything else. We will just compare what's in the left and the right of that particular middle character. So that's what I did here. That's why I only use cx. That's why I shift cx by 1. And then I started saving the character to DL, one character. So the character, first character DL, and last character to DH. We know that this is the last character because we use our counter here, BX minus 1, so it points to the last character. And then I compare them. And then if they are not equal, automatic it's not palindrome. So if they are equal, then I'm going to subtract bx by 1. So now I'm going to go nearer now, going to the middle, like that. Is that going to the middle, basically? So I am increasing si while I am decreasing bx so that they will meet in the middle. And then it will be looped depending on the number of characters. So whenever there are characters that are not equal, automatically it's not a palindrome. But this will continue until such time that my cx becomes 0. So half of the cx only, I'm going to compare it until it becomes 0. So it becomes 0, then this will stop. And then if if after cx becomes 0, then they're still the same, then it means that the string that was inputted is a palindrome. So this is what will happen now. So it will loop, it will end now. If it will not detect a difference between DL and DH, it will continue until CX becomes 0, and then I'll call next line. Basically, next line is just displaying my string on the next line. I called it twice. And then I will display this. So it's a palindrome. And then I'm going to jump exit. This one exit is just wait for a keyboard input before it will exit the program. So but if it's not a palindrome, so I have here jump not equal palindromes, it will jump here, not palindrome, and then it will exit. So here it will jump exit, it will no longer pass by not palindrome because it's a palindrome, because the program detected that your string input is a palindrome. So hope you understood this program. So that's it, and thank you for listening.